Welcome to Think Tank with Pivot. Yes, you all. We are back. New setting. I know you see it with some new energy, and I'm super excited today for the very first episode. And today's episode is called or Counsel, and we're going to jump into it. We're going to talk about counsel culture, and our hope is that what you take from today is that, hey, when God has called you, there's no way you can be counseled. But before we jump into that, I'm going to introduce or have my guests introduce themselves. So we're going to start to the right.
What's up, everybody? I'm Bart. That's about it.
Hey, everybody. I'm Grace Givens. Glad to be here again.
Oh, hey, y'all. I'm Samaria. Nice to see y'all. Nice to be in the house of the Lord again. I miss y'all.
And that's definitely Sam. Thank you, Sam. Hey, it's Pastor Floyd. But not only that, I want to do something real quick. We got to do this because I know y'all looking like, where is Nadia? Did Nadia leave? Y'all see her twin sitting right here to my right. But hey, Nadia has not gone. Nadia is actually on her honeymoon. Remember we talked about it? She was about to get married. Well, hey, she didn't jump the broom, you all. And now she's changed her name. So hey, shout out to our sister. Praying that God continues to bless your union. Hey, I know. Hey, y'all, I didn't know Nadia can sing. So hopefully she put that video out there because she sung walking down the aisle at her wedding. Like it shocked me. And all I know is she can sing. So I might have to get on some association. But hey, you all, let's jump into today's topic. Y'all ready?
Ready?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Good deal. Well, hey, again, like I said, today's topic is called or counsel. And you all, let's talk about what counsel culture is, because there is a definition out there for counsel culture, and it says this: the practice of excluding somebody from social or professional life by refusing to communicate with them online or in real life because they have said or done something that other people do not agree with. And we see that counsel culture has become like its own pandemic in this world. We see people getting counseled from left to right for saying anything, and especially when it comes to us being Christians, there's a lot of stuff that we say people quickly try to counsel us out. But before we jump into what's taking place in the kingdom world, let's talk about culture. Something that's recently happened is this brother by the name of Jonathan Majors. I know you all seen him running through the city of New York. I would not mention what color the woman was that he was running from. You all go look at all of the videos and you'll see it for yourself. But Jonathan Majors was set up to be the biggest villain in the Marvel history. They had so much money behind him, so many plans behind him. But after this incident that took place, they stripped it all away from him, and we have not seen him in a movie since. And you all got to remember, Jonathan Majors, Michael B. Jordan, these guys were like the top of the next big movie film makers, like Denzel Washington and Eddie Murphy and all those guys. And here now Jonathan Majors is trying to, somebody said his career is on life support or something of that nature. So the question goes around is Jonathan Majors counseled, or is he really counseled? I guess that's the question we kick it off with. Is he really counseled? Have we counseled him?
We got to ask the CEO of the counsel culture.
So, CEO, if you are watching, we would love to hear your answer in the comments. Thank you.
We need the power of all these. You know, like why is this set up this way?
I think you asked a good question. We need to ask the CEO of counsel culture. But who is the CEO of counsel culture? If you all know who it is, y'all could put it up in the chat. But I'm going to just go for a deep dive on who I believe counsel culture is. It's these phones right here. It's the media, social media, the media. That's the CEO of counsel culture. But if we want to go a little bit deeper and have some self-reflection, we have become the CEOs of counsel culture, because especially if somebody says something that we don't like or we don't agree with, and we take that little snapshot of their life, and that right there allows us to think that we can say, hey, this person is counsel. This person is this person is that. And all we get is just that snapshot. We don't get the full story. And so when we look at Jonathan Majors' life, we're taking just a snapshot. So did we give too much power to the CEO? Did we give too much power?
Absolutely. I think the power is from the media, and then we turn our power over to the media. And like you said, we take half stories, half truths, and then now we're out here in front of the Apple store getting ready to buy an iPhone because somebody said it was cool. You understand what I'm saying? It's the same concept that the media uses to get us to buy, to give them our money power. And then we give them our social power as well. So I'm with you, whoever it is that can call 1-800, are you the CEO, and let us know, who's putting behind the clickbait. And you can't say goes back to things like tabloids.
Yeah.
Like it's not, the way people used to gossip over the phone, same thing, but now it's a little faster. It's a lot bigger because of phones, because of social media. And so we hand over our power to the people who put out these half-truths, mostly for clickbait and to get paid.
Right, and all it takes is just those few little seconds for us to become the judge, jury, and executioners of people's lives, their careers, and we just counsel them. Or so we say they're counseled.
I didn't cancel Jonathan Majors, I just want to say, because I'm a Marvel fan. So I was like, oh my, like, I wish I could have checked on him, like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Because it didn't, well, the story didn't make sense. I'm going digging. But I was a fan, so I'm like, oh no, this is really good. This is great for the, for the Marvel, multiverse, and, the storyline is building. So in my mind, no, right. To me. But again, the collective and the media says otherwise, so.
It's those scenarios, though. That's really what's giving it the power. Like, I know you ain't want to mention the color of the woman, but sometimes if the color don't get mentioned, then there's no magnitude to the situation that it really needs to be. Because if you just saying it like that, and I'm just hindsight looking in, I don't even know what's going on. I'm like, so if he was the same color as the chick,
right,
would he be counseled right now?
Right.
And so then it's like, if that's the case, then we talking about human rights. We going back deeper than what we really think. We probably already in a loophole that we don't even understand. Like, they counseled us in the 50s when we couldn't sit down with everybody else. Now it's just in a different form, or it's in a different light.
It is.
But then on the flip side, I've been in, barbershop, beauty shopping. If a black woman see a black man with another race, then it's a whole nother conversation.
It is a whole nother conversation.
Then you counsel within the culture of a culture. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like how we really deciding that we really want to look at this, because if that's the case, like what you said earlier is right. It starts with us, and if it starts with us, then it's like what we giving our free time to. Because if your energy is focused on other things instead of what other people got going, even if you do feel a way about something, then that's where, hey, you pull your brother to the side, have that conversation, then you good. But putting it out there to gather people to like actually ruin a life, that's a whole nother ball game. And that's like I said, like we was talking earlier, man, that's some godlike powers that it's just on the wrong side for me. So it's not even something I can believe in, or I believe is even possible, because it's like, I mean, what y'all trying to have the power to do, only person I know that can do that is God himself.
And I got a question that comes to mind before we go there, but I think I'm glad you said, like, hey, we do need to put out there what color of the race of the young lady it was that he was running from, the situation that took place, because it goes into precedence of the cleanup part of council culture. Because you got to think, now he's dating Megan Good, and she's known for dating pastors and things of that nature. So they're like, hey, are you trying to clean up your image? Are you trying to show that you are a godly man and things of that nature, so that you can get back into these positions? But it brings back the question, what do people get out of counseling others? Like, what do we get out of this? What is the gain? What is the advantage? What's the reward for counseling somebody?
Two things. One, I don't know how anybody could decide on somebody else's livelihood. That's number one, because everybody has to eat. That you just have to eat. You have to have somewhere to sleep. That's just basic life. But I think people who get into that and really think they have a voice and start posting and saying those things may have a dislike for themselves. Because my first thought, if it was me, how would I want someone to treat me?
Right.
We won't even get into the Bible saying to love your neighbor as yourself. We're just going to put the pin in it. Let's just be regular. Do you want somebody to do you like that? And I like myself. I wouldn't want anybody to do me like this. So I'm just not going to do anybody else like that. And I'm going to have compassion like I would want someone to have compassion on me. So I think people who get into that and are concerned with that have an issue with themselves. And when they look in the mirror, they would more than likely cancel themselves, or have canceled themselves in other areas of their lives, what they can't achieve, what they can't go after. They're too scared to do this, or they're not good enough to do that, or I'll hand it off to the other person because they're better at it than I am. And not to glean from them or to learn from them, but because they don't think that they're good enough. And I think people like that get off into counsel culture and really get excited about it and get on that bandwagon.
And maybe it's also the ideal of counseling, or what somebody represents to them. And if they don't like that, I feel like they don't like the agenda, they don't like the politics, because, hey, the election is coming up. Then it's like, hey, I'm on this side, so therefore I got to counsel that side.
Got to. got to cancel it. That's sad.
And-
Got to.
And because you see it now with, again, okay, this is not an election episode, but I will have to say it. We see it when it comes to Joe Biden, like that situation that took place. You know, he got canceled quick. It was like, hey, man, you going to sleep on too many of these things. Like, it's too many debates you going to sleep on, and he quickly got canceled. And so it just goes to show you how much power I think people feel like they have. It goes back to that God-like complex that Bart mentioned. Like, people thinking like, hey, I can snatch it from you at any time.
Yeah, it's definitely a catch-22 to it too, because I'm not sitting here saying that you shouldn't have your opinion on what you feel, because half the time what I may feel about something, everybody else ain't feeling anyway. So it's like, if you know what you believe in and you know what you stand for, and you want to put that out there and how heavy you want to walk in that, that's on you. You know, the Bible say count the cost. You know what's going to come with the way you move. Just move how you want to move. But you can't let a whole group of people just stop that whole movement in situations like, just like something as simple as like, I remember when I first got a pair of earrings. Bruh. You know?
I remember when I first got a pair of earrings. Let's talk about that.
Like, it was
Come on.
it was a weird situation to the point where I wanted some earrings. I'm old enough to get a pair of earrings, and I wanted to go get some earrings. And I got some earrings. But it's like, all right, cover them up when you come here, or cover it up when you go there. And you understand it here and you understand there. Now you look all these years later, and it's a thing. Who's to say that was wrong? But then you go back further than that. I remember my grandparents said that my parents couldn't play cards. We play cards. Like, that's my so it's like everybody got their own prerogative, and you can throw it out there, agree to disagree. It's all supposed to be done in love, and it's all supposed to be done with care as well, to the point where you just ain't flying off at the handle. But it's like they almost trying to put you in a position where we want you to think like this today, we want you to think like this tomorrow, and now by next week, that woman right there, yeah, she president ready now.
Yep.
After she was just like nothing, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, all right, now y'all playing deep games, no interest in politics.
And I think you said something that's so true, Sam. Maybe you can catch this. He said something about care, and it goes back to the family dynamics of life. Like, maybe that's why a lot of family members feel counseled out. That's why they don't show up. They don't come back around, because they haven't been handled with care. That's probably why a lot of people don't come to church, because they haven't been handled with care. And so they feel counseled. They feel ostracized, as if like, hey, they don't matter. They don't fit in this space because they haven't been handled with care. And maybe as the church, we can be a little bit more gentle to people that don't look like us or are not as churched as we are.
Honestly, cancel culture, we just need to hang it up, because
Out of here.
that's why I haven't said much, because honestly, where I stand in the cancel culture, I mind my business, because I sweep around my own front door. I take the speck out of my eye before I look at my brethren's eye and try to take out his speck. I really don't have much to say, but to how we oftentimes cancel people out and ostracize them, I always go back to the book. And it literally, the first rule in kindergarten is treat others how you want to be treated.
Come on.
Right.
And it's literally translated like that in one of the versions of the Bible. Treat others how you want to be treated. Judge in the measure that you want to be judged. You can always correct in love, because you can do that, but it's a difference, and we always cross that line when it comes to the cancel culture. And that's where the caring come in, and the compassion and showing redemption. But we see how that should be acted out all the time when we look at the story of Jesus, how he literally sat at the table with sinners, tax collectors, and everything.
Yes.
And the Pharisees and everybody else was like, why is he sitting at the table with these sinners? And his 12 disciples was like, and he gonna do that anyways.
Right.
You have to be able to sit in the midst of the people that are outcasted, because the whole thing of his ministry was to leave the 99 for the one.
Right.
So we always have to have that one mentality. Oh, I'm going to make sure that one knows that they are loved, that they are welcomed into the house of the Lord, that even though my cousin them don't like you right now, I'm still going to stay by your side in the open, not behind closed doors. If you're going to be there for somebody, don't be shaky about it. Stand 10 toes down on caring for them and supporting them through what it is that they are going through and what they may have been canceled about. You just have to really treat others how you want to be treated. Cancel culture really don't make sense to me.
It may not make sense, and that's true.
It got power though.
It sure does.
It does not make sense, but cancel culture has not just started now. It just got a name.
Exactly. It's been here for times.
It's been since the beginning of time. Think about people with leprosy. So if we're talking about the Bible, people with leprosy are even children that was born with a defect. In the Bible, they were just pushed to the side. Like if you were born blind, we can't do nothing. You can't do nothing for us. We can't do nothing for you. And the church should never be a place where somebody feels like, hey, I can't come here to. Nobody will receive me at the place that I'm at this moment. But if we're being honest with each other, we know through the word and we know through our relationship with Christ, God met us right where we were.
And we should not have been accepted according to the standard of this church culture.
So if we can't get rid of cancel culture, how do we take the power back to make sure that we're not canceling people out?
I feel like our response should be just like Christ's first response to sin, which was the seed of the woman will crush the head of the enemy. That was his first response to sin, is I'm coming after you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to make this so no matter how many times you mess up, as far as the east is from the west, so are my thoughts towards you. And forgiveness is for, like, that should be our heart towards people. I love the way you said it earlier, like, if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. If that's where you stand, that's where you stand. Do it in love, because that's literally God so loved that he did what he did. So if the only way you can cancel it is to do it in love, you got to have that same kind of mindset.
Yeah, and that's why I'm smiling. It takes so much power to, like, not only, it's easy to show love to people when you seeing somebody else going through, and then it's like that, but when it's on you, I know how hard it can be to, like, have power enough to bypass all of that, what people is thinking, and still have enough courage to go after your own healing, your own deliverance. And that's why I told her earlier, I was like, yo, if you asking me, best way to cancel culture is to subscribe to God. So
that's good.
Real good.
Like, the way people, everybody know I've been all over the place. I've been able to play this R&B or do this gospel, whatever. When you're on both sides of the world and you going all through it, if you ain't, the only way to survive that is with God. That's why it don't matter how much money you see people with, they be like, and some folks, everybody got their own beliefs, so they say higher being. At the end of the day, you you really got to tap into yourself, so you can look beyond that. And since I believe in God, Jesus died for my sins, that's what I can give. So it don't matter whether I'm backstage somewhere, it don't matter, you caught me at a bar somewhere, it's like, that's what's gonna come out, because no matter where I'm at in my journey, like, that's what I'm going afterwards. So you can see me on stage here, then I'm gonna walk up in the church, because what you doing here? God, I need it. I want it. Like, why is that a question now? Just because maybe you get to see, or because other people paying such attention to somebody else's life, they showing you a glimpse of somebody else's life from a whole nother angle that they don't even get to speak on. But if you can block your mind out of all of that and just be like, all right, it's me and you, God. Some of those cancel cultures, you will see is like the perfect thing for you to get to the level that you're trying to get to.
Exactly.
Because it frees you from a crowd that's going to stifle you to reach the potential that God really got in your purpose.
And that's the truth.
Yeah, what he said simply is this, you all. He said to rip the power from cancel culture, subscribe to God.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question, though. Do we give this same gentleness and care to senior pastors that we're seeing now fall or make mistakes? Do we give it to them?
Absolutely.
Do we give it to them?
You give it to everybody. Everybody on the same playing field. We all on the battlefield fighting for the Lord. So we all are equal. No matter where we are, no matter what title you have, no matter what status, no matter how long you've been in the Lord, no matter if you just got here, we are all on the same playing field. I'm new to this. You know, I just got here this year in the whole title thing. And it's been a lot of adjusting for me. But I've never understood how people can somehow forget the humanness of the person that has this title when Jesus literally had the humanness and walked through that humanness in order to get to where he was. We have to remember that humanness is never going to go away. That flesh, that thorn in their side is not going to go away, because Paul asked God to remove it 3 times and he still didn't remove it. So they dealing with this thorn every single day, and sometimes they succumb to that wound of the thorn. And God is there to heal that wound every single time that thorn pierced them in the side, just like he did Jesus. So you got to extend the same grace. It's the playing field. Everybody the same. Everybody equal. Do I believe sometimes we do have to be careful and be mindful? Absolutely. But, and also, we all on the same playing field. Show grace. Amen.
I think that's the right answer. 1,000% I agree. But the history of the church shows that leaders weren't always as gracious with us. So I think that's where we get into the people saying, oh, now I'm getting my lick back. Because in 1962, when my mama... No, I heard a story. You hear me? I heard a story. Right. And
but
my mama asked for this, and then I became this. And then when you were in trouble, I made sure I got my lick back. So your answer is correct. But some people stand, unfortunately, in the shadows of hurt of the church, and they're trying to get their lick back, and they're not showing their grace and compassion to senior leaders, because somewhere in their life, or for themselves, and I can testify to that, grace was not shown to my family. And I had to stand back and say, am I going to show grace or not? I had to decide.
I think
and that's because, public separation is like put out there when it comes between a pastor and a member. That's why I was like, if somebody was to ask me from my point of view, I'm like, if you ask me, a pastor may need more grace, like you were saying. But however, when you got it to a point where it's like, I'm a pastor, these are members, you've already established this to an extent. So what you really need is a brother that's on the same level, or a mentor, somebody that can really hold you accountable. And that's the price you pay when you take on that type of responsibility. That's why sometimes there's no sympathy for people on that level, because you done took on responsibility in a area that you had no busy taking responsibility in. So now that it's happening so often, we in the middle of smoke and mirrors, because we don't know who is what, and how we supposed to know? We took your word for it. You called to do this. You a pastor. I don't care how many times people tell me I got whatever. If I ain't there yet. You know what I'm saying? I ain't playing them type of games, because that's a serious deal.
It is.
And that's a whole nother level of council culture that could be pushed into dictatorship. I know churches that be sitting up there following that one dude.
Yeah.
Woo.
And it's like, but hey man, they love their pastor. And it's scary though, because then what was that church? What was that church from New York that had the little thing?
You talking about Carl Lynch?
Oh, that
could
Hillsong.
But that's so simple. It starts it's like real light, and we looking at council culture from like one angle. It could be in reverse. Like, hey, if you don't say you don't rock with that, you can't be a part of this crew. Right? Don't you want to be a part of this crew? So you got to really like take yourself away from the world and all that, and just really figure out first where you at with God, and then figure out where you need to get with God, and then just start your journey.
Yeah, and I also think the beauty within it all is that if God has truly called you to this thing called ministry, if God has called you to whatever it is that you're doing, can't nobody strip that away from you. You think about Joseph, he had favor, had the coat, but his brother stripped it from him because in their mind they were stripping him of his identity. They were stripping him of his dreams. They were stripping him of all these things, his identity and things of that nature. But it was already on the inside of him. They couldn't counsel him out because God already had a plan in place. And what I would like to encourage anybody else that's listening in, that's in a position that can nobody counsel you if God has called you to this thing. People are not going to agree with everything that comes out of your mouth. People are not going to be a fan of everything you say, especially when you're speaking truth. Like you said, the world is going to look at it and they're waiting on us to fall. They're waiting on something to happen. So anytime we have these YouTube channels where they're picking apart different Christians, like, oh, if I'm a Christian, then I'm going to pick you apart because you said this in your sermon, or I'm picking you apart because you did this in your church. The world is looking at it and it's like, hey, they counseling themselves out. They doing it on their own. And for us, we got to understand, like, wait a minute, how do we take this as a moment to teach our brother? And like you said, the way we protect each other is standing by somebody and say, hey, come here, let me holler at you on the side. But I don't have to go public and be like, y'all see this, putting it on Instagram, see this church right here, see this, what's going on. I don't agree with everything Mike Todd does, but I would, if I had a chance to speak with that brother, I would talk with him face to face and have that conversation. But it wouldn't be no, oh, I'm finna bash him, because at the end of the day, I have to believe that he's sincerely trying to do work of the kingdom. I might not agree with his approach, but that does not mean his heart is not sincerely chasing after what God has called him to do. And so I know we don't have that much time, but I would like to try to see how we can encourage somebody else that's listening in that may have been on the end of being counseled, maybe counsel from their family, maybe counsel from the church, maybe counsel from society, and they're just trying to figure out, how do I get back in the right place? How do I get back to a space of restoration? True enough, I know it comes through God, but what does it really look like?
Well, I'll go first. So Proverbs 16:2 says that our ways are pure in our eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirit, right? So either we live by the spirit or we don't. And if we do, right, it goes back to I'm subscribing to God. And if you subscribe to God, that number 7 has a lot of meanings. One of completion, one of 70 times 70, the amount of times you got to forgive your brother, the number of times a just man falls, but he has to get up. And I could continue to go on about this wonderful thing that we have called love and forgiveness. But the fact of the matter is that you have to believe that it's true for yourself. And when you give it to yourself, you'll have so much more grace to give to others. So I want to encourage you to be kind to yourself, so that you have enough kindness to share with other people, and you never feel like you have to be unkind to others because you haven't been kind to yourself.
Wow, that's good. I'm going to flip it, because the thought just came to my mind when you were saying that. Is there ever a reason where people should be counseled? Is there?
Let's talk to Jesus. Let's ask God what he's saying.
I'm gonna go back to the same scripture. We think our ways are pure.
Hello.
But
Yeah,
the Lord,
right.
and literally he knows the truth. So I would, and I'm not even being, people say, I'm gonna ask the Lord. No, seriously. I'm gonna ask the Lord, what should I do about this? Because some things are generally wrong. You know, like it's 10 commandments, right? So what do you do? How do you respond? I'm gonna go back with the Lord weighs the heart. I'm gonna lean on it every time. And I'll go with whatever he says.
I just I try to just have an honest assessment with myself. You know, you go through life. You're gonna hear things. You're gonna see things. Then your brain gonna go to wondering. And so from there, it's kind of like you gotta be honest with yourself. First off bat, how do I feel about this, or what is my stance on this? And from there, once you do your research, either lining up with God or it ain't. And if it ain't, it may be like, but how? You trying to figure out another way to make it work, make it line up. So you may be stuck there for about 3-4 months, or whatever the case may be. We don't know the timeline too. Like, some people struggle with things for a second, and you just never know. But once they get out of it, best testimony ever. Say somebody out of it just like that. But that patience and stuff, or just first being honest, like, man, I'm not even through with that. I'm trying to figure out how to make it, you know, like, if you gotta be honest with yourself with that. And that's like, for me, that's the first step to like really just taking the step forward. Like, how honest am I being with myself?
Yep.
As I'm thinking of that question myself, and as we're wrapping it up, I'm starting to think about just Peter, because what Peter did when he denied Jesus, he should have gotten counsel, right? And so as I'm thinking about him, I'm remembering that Jesus creates this brunch, and he brings him to this brunch, and he's sitting there having a conversation with him, and he redeems him and he restores him, and he tells him, hey, but I still got something for you to do. And what blesses me is that, like, even when God should have counseled me, even when God should have taken me out of, should have looked at me and said, no, you denied me, he still comes back and said, but I still receive you. And so my encouragement to anybody, that there are a lot of things that we should be counseled for, but the God that we serve when you are a believer in Jesus Christ is that you can never really be counseled, because he loves you still, and he's still giving you grace. He's still extending his hand and saying he still wants you. And so therefore, what I would say to anybody that's listening in, God has called us to make disciples. God has called us to preach his word. God has called us to bring others to know who he is. And as long as that's the mission, guess what? There's no way, no possible somebody can counsel you. And so my encouragement to those of you all that are watching in, that have joined us for Think Tank with Pivot, that I pray that you take from this is that long as God has called you, can't nobody counsel you. And so, hey, y'all, let me say thank you for joining us and hanging out with us. We're going to keep this thing going. I pray you all love this. But, hey, you know how I say it here at Think Tank. Stay safe. Protect yourself.
Level up one time. Level up two